I wanted to share a story that Yogananda told, and while it might seem like a story for children, well, it is a story for children. It's a story for all children of the light, and its message is very profound and very relevant. And this story describes a lioness who is just about to give birth. And she's very big, carrying this baby lion inside of her. And her circumstance, such as it is, has weakened her to a considerable degree. And this is compounded by the fact that her circumstance has made it very difficult for her to get food, the food and nourishment that she needs to see this through. And so one day she is laying down in a field and she falls asleep. And in her sleep she dreams. And she dreams that she is surrounded by a fold of sheep. And amongst them is a weakened sheep. And she is alerted to that possible meal. And she gathers up the forces within her and leaps. And in that movement, she jerks into physical reality, conscious reality of the physical world around her. But she sees now in the wakeful state that, interestingly enough, the field is filled with many, many sheep, and amongst them a weakened little lamb. And so she gathers her strength for real and charges after all of these sheep, seeking to get this little weak one. And she does, she pounces on it, and she has a full meal, and that sustenance is transferred to her physical body. And after feeding for a while, she wanders off into the woodland. And in this whole process, because there were a lot of things going on, and she was very stressed and traumatized in her animal body for many reasons, she gave birth to her lion, her little baby lion, without really noticing it, putting it all together, I guess until she was quite far away, because that little baby lion was left there in that field abandoned. Well, the sheep were there too. They were traumatized by the whole thing that they watched. And when they came out of their stupor, one of them in particular saw this little baby lion and decided to take it under its wing and rear it. And this sheep did. And by, the little baby lion grew up and assumed the full bodily size of a very strong and robust lion, but with the behavior of a sheep. And this lion, he didn't eat meat, he grazed in the grass, he bleated like a lamb, he whined, he cried, he followed blindly where all of the other sheep went, and such was his existence. And one day, another lion came into this area and saw all the sheep and thought, there's my meal. And then he saw this other lion there with the sheep, just in very casual circumstance, and this puzzled him. And he thought, what is going on here? And he charged after the fold of sheep, and this lion was out in front, and the other lion looking on just thought, this doesn't make sense, and he decided to go after that lion. And he took down that lion and held him down in his paws and said, what are you doing? What are you doing with these sheep? Why are you running with them? Why aren't you, getting your dinner? And the lion spoke in sheep language and bleated, and I'm a lion, I'm a sheep, this is what I do, this is my life, this is my family. And the other lion, he couldn't believe what he was hearing, and he said, that's it. And he grabbed the lion and he took him over to this pond at the far end of the pasture, and he took his head and just put it right down over the water and said, look at yourself. You're not a sheep, you're a lion. And he put his face next to the other sheep lion, and he said, look, we're alike, we're both lions. He says, now roar, roar, stop bleeding, roar, you must roar. And this other lion tried to get something out, but it was just this little whimper of a, just bleeding lamb that he was, expressing. And the other lion just kept telling him, you've got to keep trying, you've got to keep trying. And he tried to roar, and he tried to roar, and he tried to roar, and finally he just belted out this huge roar, this lion-like roar. And at that point, he really took hold of his reality, and he understood that in fact, he was really a lion, a big lion with a big roar and a big mane and a long tail. And him and his friend walked off into the forest and left behind the sheep forever. And, it's such a simple story. I mean, the theme is so seemingly obvious. And yet, every day, I suspect, I know I do, I work with that part of me that is the little bleeding lamb, and the part of me that has the lion-like roar and is willing and able to go after anything, everything. And just that constant, shift between those two states of consciousness. We have to learn to roar, and we have to practice our roaring. We have to put that into expression all of the time in all of the things that we do.